A while back, a friend of mine introduced me to backpacking or hiking. And not just hiking where you grab a stick and you wander off into the woods a little ways, but you throw a backpack on your back and you head up into onto some trails or up into the mountains. And it's something I've been doing the last few years and really enjoying it. But one of the things about it is you take this backpack and you put it on, and it straps on you well, and it sits you on you well, and it's designed specifically to help you carry it really well. But the problem is it weighs about 60 to 70 pounds. Once you get your food in there and your tent and your stove and all the different things that you need, and the clothing, your water, all these things, it adds up, and you can be pushing 70 pounds depending on how far you're hiking and where you're hiking. This isn't so bad if you're walking on level ground, but the moment you start climbing up a hill, it gets to be a problem. And there's been countless times when I've been partway up a hill and I've just had to grab a tree and I've been gasping for air because I've just been so exhausted. And then I make it a few more steps and then I have to take a break. When you go through this and when you're climbing up the hill and you're moving your way along the trail carrying this pack, you'll come to a point where you take a break and you grab the little clasp and you click it and it releases, and then you let it off of your shoulders and you drop it down on the ground and you feel like you're, well, 70 pounds lighter, and you feel like every step is easy and everything is easier. I couldn't help but think of this kind of thing when I was reading about Christian and carrying his burden. And we come to this point here where it says, "Therefore it was up this highway that Christian ran, but not without great difficulty because of the burden of the load on his back." It's amazing how much that weighs him down. And you know, when I go backpacking, one of the things about it is, as strange as it sounds, I enjoy it. But that's a physical burden that I'm choosing to put on my back. That's very different than a spiritual burden that is weighing you down. And that's what Christian is carrying. The spiritual burden of sin, that he realizes this burden is going to drag him to the pits of hell. We read the statement of freedom. "I saw in my dream that when Christian walked up to the hill, to the cross, his burden came loose from his shoulders and fell off his back, tumbling down the hill until it came to the mouth of the tomb, where it fell in to be seen no more." And I love that picture. He comes up there, and it's that at the point of the cross that the burden releases, and you can picture the release that he has, the freedom he has, and that suddenly that feeling of, I'm free. And the burden falls off, rolls down the hill, and falls into the mouth of the tomb, to be seen no more. I love that at the place of suffering, Christ's suffering, not ours, but Christ's suffering, freedom is found. There's that old song that said, "Burdens are lifted at Calvary." This is the place where Christ's payment for sin is recognized as sufficient, as being enough. And it isn't an amazing when it rolls into the tomb and it gives this picture that Christ died for my sins. He took my sins to the cross and he carried them to the tomb, and they're gone. He went in the tomb, in a sense. He went in the tomb with the sins and came out without them. And they're not in there. You can't find him anymore. Jesus takes our sin to his death and buries them, and they are seen no more. But he goes on from there. He's free from his burden. He meets two people, formalist and hypocrisy. And they describe themselves this way. They say, "We were born in the land of vainglory and we are going to Mount Zion, where we expect we will receive both praise and honor," which is interesting, that kind of idea. You know, they start from a place of vainglory, and then they think, well, I'm going to heaven. I'm going to get lots of praise and glory. But they climbed over the wall, and Jesus would have called them a thief and a robber, because he said, you should enter by the way, and anyone who climbs over the wall is a thief or a robber. But that's the way that people from formalists and hypocrisy's land, that's the way they did it. They climbed over the wall. They couldn't be bothered to go all the way down to enter by the gate. And they say this, "Who is to say that your chosen path is better than ours?" Does that sound familiar? Think about that. That's a statement that we hear and we think, okay, that's current. That's what people of this time are thinking, that, oh, well, you think this and I think that and that person thinks that. Well, who's to say which way is better? And we've got kind of this idea that, well, who knows, right? And the current idea is that we can't really tell. Well, that's not the current idea. Here we have a book written 340 years ago, and the same old lies are coming up. Satan doesn't have an awful lot of new stuff in his bag of tricks. He just pulls out the same ones over and over again. But then Christian parts ways with them, and he climbs up the hill, and he meets two more people, timorous, or timid and fearful, and mistrust. Two men, one who is fearful and one who will not trust the Lord of the way. And they're running away because they say there's lions up ahead. There's no hope in their hearts that the Lord of the way might protect them along the way. Now, let me give you a couple of talking points. Those are just some things that we covered in this time, but let me give you some talking points, things to discuss for this week. Here's a difficult question. Did salvation come to Christian at the gate or at the cross? That's a big question, isn't it? Here's another one. Why would the cross ease us of our burden? Let me make that more personal. Why does the cross ease you of your burden? And I have two more for us for this week. Why do you think formalists went the way of danger? When they came to the bottom of the hill and they parted ways from Christian, why do you think formalists went the way of danger and hypocrisy went the way of destruction? And finally, timorous, fearful, and mistrust were running back because they saw the lions. What difference does it make? Because we will meet the lions along the way. What difference does it make when we come to those points and we trust the Lord of the way? Once again, I just encourage you to really dive into this and enjoy the discussion and really be challenged by it, because there's a lot of things that God has to show us through this amazing book written by John Bunyan.